mutant and proud. What is up, everybody? It's BJ the Web Guy. Like and subscribe if you're liking the content that you're watching. And I think it's time that we talk a little bit about the X-Men. The Marvel Cinematic Universe continues to get bigger every time they release a new movie. What used to be very earthbound has now traveled to the cosmos, thanks to films like Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain Marvel, and even the Avengers. But could Earth's mightiest heroes handle the mutants? Now that Marvel has the rights back from Fox to do not only the Fantastic Four, but also the X-Men, how are they going to handle it? How do you introduce mutants into the MCU? We've heard the term enhanced, but it's not like there's a lot of people walking around with special abilities in the MCU. Everything that they have is usually man-made, some sort of artificial thing. Scarlet Witch and Spider-Man are the only people in the MCU right now besides Captain Marvel that are given some sort of ability. We learned in WandaVision that Scarlet Witch has had her powers all along. They're just finally showing. With Spider-Man, Tom Holland, we know how he got there. They never chose to show it to us, but we know that he was bitten by a radioactive spider. In Quicksilver, R.I.P. Captain Marvel's powers were given to her by an Infinity Stone. It seems like that's how it's explained. If somebody has a special ability, it's either alien in nature, it was given to them by an Infinity Stone, or it was man-made like Iron Man's suit. Now, mutants have yet to be explained. A lot of that goes back to the fact that they simply couldn't talk about mutants in the MCU for a very long time. And the way to talk about it was to give people power through other means. But now that Marvel can talk about mutants again, what are we going to do? There's a couple ways that they could introduce the X-Men into the MCU. I would love to see them side by side with the Avengers taking on some sort of big threat. That would be a great story to tell. In 2022, we will have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. If we're dealing with multiple universes, there's a way that we could take the existing X-Men that are living in the 90s from the Fox universe and transport them into the MCU in some way. This has worked for years in DC Comics. As a matter of fact, it's worked for years with Marvel Comics. We had the 616 universe, and we also had the Ultimate Universe. When All New, All Different Marvel came out, they kind of combined those two things. It made it a lot easier to tell stories when you just had one universe full of heroes. Same thing happened with Crisis on Infinite Earths with DC Comics. So I think maybe we could do that with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Perhaps there is a gigantic catastrophe that happens, and the only way to do that is to unite all the worlds. And one of those worlds happens to have mutants. Imagine, if you will, Doctor Strange. He's opening up one of his portals, and out comes Cyclops and Storm. Maybe even Kurt Wagner. I think that would be a great way to introduce these characters that we're already familiar with seeing on the big screen. Now, as much as I'd love it, I don't think that we're going to see Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine. They put a very nice period on the end of that story with Logan. To bring him back now wouldn't really seem appropriate. Same thing goes with Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. Both of those characters got great endings. Same goes with Steve Rogers. We just move on. There's a lot of mutants that we could tackle. I think one of the best things about the MCU is that they've always been able to take these characters that haven't always been in the spotlight, yet make them shine. That could be a great way to introduce some people to us. When you think about the X-Men universe, they've existed for a very long time. Go back to the first X-Men movie, and we see Magneto at the Holocaust camps. I don't think there's a way to explain how mutants have existed, and we just don't know about them yet. So I think the only way to accurately introduce them into the MCU, if they introduce them into the MCU, that's a big if, would be if they came from another universe. Multiverse of Madness with Doctor Strange would be a great way to do that. Spider-Man No Way Home is also supposed to contain Spider-Mans from other worlds, aka Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and we also are going to get some classic Spider-Man villains as well. Alfred Molina. If I were a rich man. It would be an amazing thing to see the X-Men in the MCU. I would absolutely love it. As a matter of fact, so many X-Men characters have crossed over to become Avengers that I think that that would be a great fit for them, especially since we're kind of in a rebuilding phase right now since Avengers Endgame. Given the ages of the current X-Men that are coming out of the 20th Century Fox universe, I think they'd be a great fit to fit a new Avengers model, and maybe that's what we go with. X-Men meets Avengers would be absolutely fantastic. We already know that Marvel is teasing Fantastic Four. It's only a matter of time before they start teasing us with the X-Men as well. As a kid of the 90s, I would love nothing more than to see my favorite mutants on the big screen again, side by side with some of these heroes that we've really grown to love over the last 10 years or so. Get your popcorn ready. Like and subscribe, guys. Thank you for watching.